Bienvenidos and welcome back to Puro Pinche Gol, the place we discuss all things USMNT y la selección mexicana. My name is Adrian. Joining me once again is my co-host Tocayo, Adrian. Adrian, what's good, brother?
Hey, how's it going, man? Over here, just, second day of the week, trying to get by. What's up with you? How was your trip?
It was good, man. Yeah, PPG listeners, apologies that we were a little slow last week. I was traveling for work and kind of put a damper on things here in terms of PPG. But no, it was a good trip, man. Good work trip. Learned a lot. So glad to be back, though. And a lot of news recently for the USMNT, man. They dropped their 60 prelim roster for the Nations League. Obviously, we know that it's not going to be 60 players here on the roster. It's going to be dwindled down to 23, 24 at the end of the day. But yeah, he kind of released his preliminary roster of 60 players, as well as, Mexico doing the same thing and Panama and Jamaica. But we're going to be here discussing and giving our reactions to the USMNT 60. And also, a quick little side note here. It was released today, Tuesday, February 27th, that the USMNT will be playing again the 2024 All-State Continental Clásico. This time it will be against Brazil. And that is going to be in preparation for the Copa America, June 12th in Orlando, Florida. So, yeah, I mean, Continental Clásico is back. Let's hope it's not as bad as last year's. But yeah, man, let's get into it. Let's see. So he did bring 60 players, and we'll start off with the goalkeepers, then go to defenders, then midfielders and forwards, and kind of give our reactions as we go through it. Real quick, the 8 goalkeepers he called up is Drake Callender from Inter Miami, Ethan Horvath from Cardiff City, Sean Johnson, Toronto FC, Theo Kachin from FC Barcelona. This one being kind of a real standout. We'll kind of discuss him in further detail here. Patrick Schultz from Columbus Crew, Gaga Slonina from Eupen, Zach Steffen from the Rapids, and Matt Turner from Nottingham Forest. At the end of the day, I think this will be dwindled down to the 3 that we pretty much kind of already know. I don't know, Adrian, do you see any surprises here, or anybody kind of making it into the final roster that we wouldn't expect?
I don't really think we're gonna see any big surprises. I think, to me, maybe the third keeper spot, or maybe, maybe I don't know if it's third or second, but one of those 3 goalkeeper spots is gonna be fought between, I think, Drake Callender and Gaga Slonina. I think Matt Turner and Ethan Horvath are pretty much a given. And then, Drake Callender, I think he's benefiting from all the hype that Inter de Miami is getting from Messi and all that stuff. Not necessarily that he's essentially the best MLS keeper out there, but at this point in time, also, like, you don't have anyone else who has stepped up to that level of performance, right? You have Zach Steffen, who's still making a comeback on Colorado Rapids. I don't think you ever considered taking Sean Johnson for
Yeah, he's
for
like
his kind.
too old
Yeah.
now. I don't know why he's on this list.
And this guy from Barcelona, Diego Cohen, it's a prospect, right? I don't think you will risk it. Maybe I guess bringing him as a third keeper just for the experience, but why? Why would you do it?
Yeah, I mean, the only reason I would see doing it would be, well, I was going to say to cap tie him, but he won't even play, right? So, I mean,
Exactly.
he'll might as well bring the other young keeper who's Gagas Lorina, who, is a little further along in his development, 4 or 5 years older. But yeah, Cocken here is definitely an interesting prospect for the long run. Someone who is a dual national. He's not even a dual national, like a triple national. He's eligible for Venezuela, Peru, Spain, and the USMNT. And
Damn.
yeah, so I guess getting him on the radar early can be a good way to kind of lock him down here in the future. But I mean, he's somebody that's definitely gonna have options, man. Especially if he's already playing a Barcelona, or Barcelona product. So yeah. Other than that, I agree with you. I mean, I don't see any major surprises. Matt Turner for sure, Ethan Horvath for sure, and I think it's gonna be Slonina. But I can see the Drake Callender argument as well. So. The other guy, Sean Johnson, Steffen, and Schultz, yeah, I think they're long shots. Moving on to defenders, man. We got Reggie Cannon, Queens Park Rangers, QPR, Cameron Carter-Vickers, Celtic FC, Serginodest, PSV, DeJuan Jones, New England Revolution, Christopher Lund, Palermo, Mark McKenzie from Genk, Shaq Moore from Nashville SC, Kevin Paredes, Wolfsburg, Tim Ream, Fulham, Brian Reynolds, Westerlo, Chris Richards, Crystal Palace, Jedi Robinson, Fulham FC, Miles Robinson, Cincinnati, Joe Scally, Borussia Mönchengladbach. I always struggle with that one. Austin Trusty, Sheffield, Caleb Wiley, Atlanta, DeAndre Yedlin, Inter Miami, Walker Zimmerman, Nashville, and the final one, the big surprise for the defenders, John Brooks, Hoffenheim. Getting added to the list here, somebody who has not appeared
Nice.
for the USMNT since 2021. It had been long speculated that he was kind of done with the the USMNT, not by his choice, but from the federation's choice. But yeah, I mean, he's apparently not being ignored any longer, and he is at least on the 60-man roster. Any other standouts for you here?
No Aaron Long. That's that's
I didn't
that's
even
great.
notice that. Yeah, you're right.
Exactly. This is great. This is great. No Aaron Long. I mean, it's. I don't think there's a. I don't see why they will call him up again. But the biggest standout for me is Mark McKenzie.
Yeah,
Whenever we were chatting via WhatsApp earlier today about the roster drop, I didn't see Mark McKenzie on the list that we initially discussed, but it looks like he is here. So that's nice. I mean, it's nice to see that he's at least getting considered. This is a 60-man roster. It just only goes to show that this is perhaps the 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 primary pool of players they're looking into, right? So
yeah.
this 60 player will confirm, I guess, compose the C, B, and A team in a way, with some mix in between all those three different teams. But I'd like to see Mark McKenzie making it all the way to the final roster for Nations League.
Yeah, we had discussed off camera before last week when I was traveling that we had kind of done our internal predictions of the 24-man roster that he's going to call up for the Nations League, and we were saying that center backs was kind of light. We said
Mhm.
Timream was there, Chris Richards was there, and we could see him calling up Miles Robinson just because of his history with the USMNT. But in no world did we think and CCV Cameron Carter Vickers, right? But we were like, he maybe needs another one or two back there just in case. But who else is there? And we were talking between you and I. He hasn't called Mark McKenzie in a while, and Mark McKenzie is somebody that always starts and plays well for Genk. He's
Mhm.
playing for the big team in Belgium, and I think he deserves a call up. And I don't think we ever would have thought John Brooks would have been a possibility, but here we are. So yeah, it's nice to see both of those guys back there, and at least in the 60 prelim roster. And I don't know what DeAndre Yedlin is doing there. Again, could be one of those
Yeah,
Inter Miami hypes that you said.
pretty much, I think.
Yeah, and
Uh,
Shaq Moore, another
yeah,
questionable one.
the other one that I like to see his name here, and just because of Serginodest suspension, is Reggie Cannon. I think this is an opportunity for him to, take the spot, maybe just raise his hand and say, hey, if the Serginodest is not performing to the level that everyone expects, I'm here. I think this is a good chance for him.
Yeah, because as we know, is going to be suspended for the first match of the Nations League. So,
Hmm.
yeah, definitely a good chance for him and Joe Scally to kind of fight for that
Hmm.
position. All right, moving on to midfielders. He's called 16 midfielders. Uh, the Aronson brothers, Brendan Aronson, Union Berlin, Paxton Aronson, Vitesse, Kellen Acosta, Chicago Fire, Tyler Adams, Bournemouth, Esmir Barkartervich from New England Revolution, Taylor Booth from Ettrich, Bucio from Venezia, there in Serie B, Johnny Cardoso from Real Betis, Luca de la Torre from Celta Vigo, Diego Luna from Real Salt Lake, Leonard Maloney from Heidenheim, Weston McKennie from Juventus, Aidan Morris from Columbus Crew, Yunus Musa, AC Milan, Tyner Tesman, Venezia, and Timmy Tillman from LAFC. This one I think has a lot more like not random but questionable names. I guess.
Yeah.
I guess we could start off with Tyler Adams, who is expected to be back in fighting for a spot in Bournemouth. Back from probably like a year-long injury, he came back and then got injured again. But he'll be coming back at least for Bournemouth March 3rd, available for selection. This might be too soon for him. I feel. I really don't see him making this roster.
Yeah, I'm in the same boat with you. I'm surprised to see him here. Like, we know that he's still a long ways from being at the level that he was before that unfortunate injury, and the fact that he's just making a comeback. I mean, I'll be. I'm one of the first ones to jump on Tyler Adams' boat. But I think at this point in time, I'll be surprised if he's even fit to just play at least 30 minutes with the USMNT. I don't think these Nations League matches are the most challenging in any way. I think he probably has a bigger challenge playing with Burnermouth. Sorry, not Burnermouth, Burnmouth. Whatever weak Premier League match. I think that's more challenging than playing against Jamaica. Um, so I'm just wondering, maybe this is just a pat on the back, or I guess maybe like a extending his hand, like Triple G just being, hey man, you're still in contention. I'm aware that you're making a comeback. You're still in recovery, but you still have your spot here. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, you're still a captain, right? Before he got
Hmm.
injured, he was made captain of the USMNT.
Yeah.
Um, Another one that I think is interesting here is Weston McKennie, man. I mean, he got injured over the weekend after providing 2 assists. He's been playing very, very well for Juventus,
Oh yeah.
but he dislocated his shoulder. It
Hmm.
hasn't been confirmed as of February 27th how long he's going to miss. But he had a similar injury to his shoulder back in
Hmm.
2022, and he was out for 2 or 3 weeks. So if it's something small like that, I can see him coming back in time for this Nations League match. But definitely going to be one to look out for that has a possibility of maybe not being 100%. Weston McKennie, and I think the other one there that kind of is questionable is Kellen Acosta for Chicago Fire. I think
Yeah.
him, like Aaron Long, like Shaq Moore, have probably maybe outplayed their usefulness at this point.
So I totally agree with you. I have two things, but I'm gonna continue with the point that you just mentioned. Um, it amazes me to read, different forums and different places online when people say, "Hey, how come you're calling, the likes of Tanner Tessman or Gianluca Busio who play in Serie B, but you don't call up uh, USMNT eligible players who are playing for MLS, right, at the top flight of the US league?" And I see people, getting angry and being salty about it, when we all know that playing a Serie B is definitely maybe not essentially significantly better than MLS, but I still think there's a at least technically speaking, there's still a step above the MLS in terms of better defenders, better keepers, all that stuff, right? But then you see the likes of Kellen Acosta, who, I'm not saying he's a bad player. He's definitely, a more than decent player. He's a professional. Um, he can definitely smoke me on the field, right? But I just don't see how he fits in anymore. Like when you have this big of pool of players in Europe, why would you even consider someone like him for this spot?
Yeah, he's somebody that, looking back in retrospect, maybe now I can see him being taken to the World Cup, which he was, just because they didn't have that depth at number 6 back then that they have now.
Hmm.
But now you have Yunus Musa, you have Tyler Adams maybe coming back, and you have Johnny Cardoso that's playing amazing, right?
Hmm.
Why are you gonna take Kellen Acosta again? We're not saying he's taking him. This is a 60-man roster. I don't think he'll make the final team. But to even have him on here, I guess he just needed to fill out positions to make the
Yeah,
60.
this is a similar situation to like Tyler Adams. Be like, hey man, you might not be part of the A team anymore, but if we ever have a Gold Cup or a Partido Molero that we need to fill in, I'm gonna call you up, right?
Right. I mean, at least in the future, because Tyler Adams is, I think, is definitely one that will come back to the A team.
Yeah.
Just a matter of
And
time.
and and the other question that I had is also Taylor Booth. I know he got injured, I think last week or 2 weeks ago. That's why he didn't play um, uh, in the last, I think, weekend.
Mhm.
So I don't think he's gonna make the cut, but it's just interesting to see alongside of Tyler Adams and Weston McKennie, who recently, or in the case of Tyler Adams, who's still injured or coming just making a comeback. But Taylor Booth definitely was sidelined for at least last weekend.
Right. No, but props to Johnny Cardoso. I think he's maybe one of him, Weston McKennie are the two guys that are coming into this midfield hot, right, and
Yeah.
having really good
Hmm.
performances. So it's going to be hopefully Weston McKennie's available to play. So yeah, that is midfielders. Did you have? Sorry, you mentioned you had a couple things to add. Did you have anything else to add before we move on to forwards?
That was it. That was just pretty much it, man.
Alrighty. Um, so the forwards here, 17 forwards that he's called up. Fuller and Balogun, AS Monaco, Cade Cal, El Caballo Cal, well, the Sheriff Cal now. I guess El Caballo, our nickname did not stick. From Chivas, Cremonesi from Inter Miami, Jesus Ferreira from FC Dallas, Camungo from FC Dallas, Jordan Morris from Seattle Sounders, Ricardo Pepi, PSV, Jordan Pifok, another one that we haven't seen with the U.S. men's national team in a while from
Hmm.
Mönchengladbach, Pulisic, AC Milan, gioreyna, Nottingham Forest, Josh Sargent, Norwich City, Malik Tillman, PSV, Brandon Vasquez from Monterrey, Tim Weah from Juventus, Haji Wright from Coventry City, Yao from Westerlo, and Alex Sendejas from Club America. Those are the 17 forwards. Anybody right away stand out to you there?
Kremansky, I still don't know why they call him off, dude. He's just catching the hype from Inter de Miami, man. I mean, I don't have anything against him. I think he's definitely a prospect, but again, you have this big roster of players. I think there's at least one or two other players who aren't here. Maybe they're injured, and that's why he's making it here. But I think this is one of those options where the USMNT sees in him maybe some talent, but more on he is potentially a t-shirt selling player, right? The fact that he's half Argentinian, the fact that he's
Right.
playing with Messi, right? The fact
Yeah.
that he's catching up with all this hype. It just also helps that he's handsome, dude. So you know, I mean,
Sell
I
jerseys.
I see it. I can see it. It's just difficult for me to swallow these kind of pills, man.
Yeah, that's another one. I guess I didn't realize how many Inter Miami players were on this roster. Considering the fact that they were pretty bad last season and have
Yeah.
started the tournament with a 1-1 draw against LA Galaxy, but still not don't look too different here. Another one here, I think, man. Well, for this forwards list, I think balogun isn't firing like on all cylinders like we're used to seeing him from the last year, but I think injury wise, they have everybody right. Uh,
Hmm.
Josh Sargent is back, playing amazing from
Yeah.
Norwich City. Malik Tillman from PSV has been fantastic. Gioreyna has been. We know he's in a bad situation in Nottingham Forest, but he seems to play well for the USMNT. Pulisic has been pretty good for AC Milan. Ricardo Pepi, I think he has the most amount of goals and the least amount of minutes in the Eredivisie, so he's been playing really well as well. Cade Cowell has finally got his first goal Guadalajara, but even before getting the first goal, he's been playing pretty well for Chivas. Brandon Vasquez, I think he has 4 goals so far, and he was out for like a week or two recently for something personal, I believe. So
He's
he's been
I
doing
think he had a newborn, I think. Something like
right,
that.
something like that.
Yeah.
Yeah. So he's been playing really well for Monterrey. Um, but yeah, I mean, a lot of people playing high coming into this tournament. Obviously Tim Weah not doing the best at this time. Haji Wright has been playing pretty well for Coventry. And yeah, so I like you said, Kremashi, I don't know why he's here. Jesus Ferreira, we know he's one of Triple G's favorites, but I don't think he gets in this roster. Same with
I don't
Jordan
think so either.
Morris.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, do you think Sendejas makes it in?
I don't think he makes it to the A team, to be honest with you, man. I mean, fortunately for the USMNT, a lot of these players are hot right now. And I understand that Alejandro Sendejas, for example, is not necessarily a direct replacement for a striker or a central forward, right? Because he plays more on the wing. Um, but you have the likes of gioreyna, Christian Pulisic, Malik Tillman, Tim Weah. All of them can play on the wings. They can be, a right wing, inverted wing, whatever you want. So you already have like 4 players to cover those two roles. I
And
don't
the
see how.
Aaronsons.
Exactly. So
Yep.
I don't really see how Sendejas can make a breakthrough, and he's not necessarily having a, outstanding season so far with America. He's not playing bad, but he's not necessarily,
Right.
the go to player for the team. Hell, I would think of taking Brandon Vasquez ahead of him. To be
Yep.
honest with you,
And que el caballo cao as well.
yeah,
I think.
I agree.
Yeah, I think Brandon Vasquez. We were talking last week as well. You were shocked that I kind of mentioned that Brandon Vasquez maybe gets into this roster. I think he's playing really well for Monterrey. I think he's a forward that is what the USMNT were hoping Haji Wright would be at the World Cup.
Yeah,
That
yeah,
type of holding forward that can also, if needed, can play on the wings, and he's just there to hold the ball and to be that huge target inside the area, right? Um, so I think he gives the USMNT striker pool something that is not really available with Balogun or with Ricardo Pepi, right? So
yeah.
or Josh Sargent. He gives him that big presence. But I think he could get called up, a surprising call up there. And yeah, I agree with you completely on Alex and Dejas. I think Tim Way and those other guys are just above him at this point.
Yeah, significantly. And to me, like I'm not surprised. I guess let me rephrase myself. I'm surprised that you say Brandon Vasquez will make it just because of how well Sargent is playing. Like I'm not surprised because of his performance right now, but I think Josh Sargent is just on fire, dude. My guy, he's just been incredible for Norwich City.
So do you start $1 million question? Do you start Josh Sargent or Balogun or Pepi?
I think as of right now, I'll say yes. Hmm. Yeah.
Wow, somebody that just coming back from injury and yeah, getting the
Hey,
starting spot.
he's firing all cylinders, man.
Yeah, he's doing really well, and we've seen Balogun struggle. So yeah,
Exactly.
it will be interesting to see what he starts with there, Triple G against Jamaica. But yeah, so that's the preliminary 60-man roster here. Stick with PPG. We're going to be going, further into, as we go into the March 2024 window with Nations League started back up. So we'll have our coverage, our analysis on that. Adrian, man, as we wrap this up, dude, where can our listeners find us?
They can all find us on YouTube. Don't forget to subscribe, hit the like button, and turn on the notifications. You can also find us on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcasts on. Last but not least, you can also find us on Instagram. We post stuff every now and then. We are close to the 500 subscribers, so please help us out. Hit that subscribe button on YouTube. We really need your help.
Yeah, subscribe if you haven't. And yeah, definitely let us know in the comments below. We like interacting with you guys. Any surprises here in the 60-man roster? Any people you think that Triple G left off the roster that you would have taken instead of some of the ones that he selected? Definitely, like we said before, we like interacting with you guys there and talking to you and seeing what you guys have to say for sure. So sticking here with PPG, we'll be giving our thoughts for Mexico's 60-man preliminary roster as well. So make sure you, like Adrian said, subscribe for more videos on USMNT and La Selección Mexicana. Adrian, man, I'll see you in the next one, brother.
Always a pleasure, my dude. See ya.
Likewise, dude. See ya.